Hi, I'm Cindy Cotton back at the library, and today we're really thrilled to have our new town councilor with us, David Bogan, and he is taking time today to fill us in on a little bit of what's going on in the town of Barnstable and the village. So I'd like to welcome you, David, and what's going on?
Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate you presenting the opportunity. I think I and the town, like everybody, are trying to get through this unforeseen, surreal reality. Um, it's really affected everybody's lives. It's affected the businesses that we have in the village of Osterville. The good news is what I've seen is there's a lot of anxiety, but I think it's also brought out a lot of the good in people. When you talk about what's going on in Osterville specifically, I'm very concerned about some of our small businesses. We don't have many of the larger national or chain businesses in the village. That's part of our charm. But by the same token, that means their ability to um, resume operations get through this is very perilous. In particular, our restaurants across the country, but certainly in the village, they operate on very small margins to begin with. And so their ability to sustain themselves for a long period is challenging. That's what I'm seeing. People are certainly continuing to frequent those restaurants in particular. Many of the other businesses have closed, and we don't know when they will be open again. But some of the restaurants are offering the takeout. I encourage people to use them, but I also understand it's we're all concerned about our own health too, and trying to maintain social distancing. So that's what I'm saying. People doing what they can to get through this and move to what will be our new reality, because our new reality is not going to look like what it used to look like.
Yes, I agree. So, and actually, you've helped start the Ostrava Helps. Did you want to talk about that?
Sure. Thanks for bringing that up. Ostrava Helps, for folks that don't know, was designed to, we know in Osterville we have a population that is a little bit older than many other areas. And so therefore those people, frankly, myself included, at least on the margin, fall within the category who need to be very careful because they're susceptible to the coronavirus. So what was done with Osterville Helps was to recognize that and to first volunteers who don't fall into the high risk category, who if they're going to the grocery store or they're going to CVS, would be willing to say, sure, if there's someone else who does fall in that high risk category and they could use someone to pick up some groceries for them or some medical supplies, I'd be willing to do that. And I have to tell you, to my mind, this was emblematic of what people have done. The first thing that was done was to reach out to make sure you had volunteers who were willing to do it. And I think within 2 to 3 days, there were north of 20, and I think at this point it's north of 30 people who have agreed to help people who are in need. And I'll give you, so at this point, I'm told there are more volunteers than there are people who have expressed a need. But I'll give you a perfect example. I was told there was a woman who lives in one of the condominiums who is in her 70s, and her husband has the underlying medical issues that render him more at risk. And because of that, they had not been back to Osterville for a couple of years, but they are now. But she therefore didn't know what resources were available, what restaurants are open, etc. And when she heard about Ostrava Helps, she thought that was just a wonderful thing for her in particular. And so she was put in touch with a volunteer, and they are off and running. And that's made that woman's life a lot more pleasant.
Well, that's great. It's an awesome thing to be doing. What's going on town-wise? Any inside information?
Well, I don't think it's inside information and not anything that's really surprising. Uh, the town has actually done pretty well in terms of responding to the current challenges. That said, it's a day-by-day learning experience, and you have to be willing to pivot as things evolve. The most pressing thing, of course, was the budget. There would never have been a good time for this to have happened, but this did occur right when the council would have been working on its budget. And so we did miss the first meeting in April as people were sheltering in place, as it were. But for folks that don't know, our last meeting a week and a half ago on Thursday, we did virtually, just like you and I are doing now. And I think that was the first of its kind, certainly in the town of Barnstable. And that was because of the governor's executive order that authorized towns to do that. I think it went reasonably well, given the circumstances, given the number of players. I credit Channel 18 and Sarah for the work that she did to pull that together and teach a lot of folks what needed to be done, because without her, it would not have happened. But that was necessary because we do have to deal with our budget. Yes, calendars have now been extended, whether it be income taxes or other things, but we do have to get a budget in place. But as a consequence of the new reality, there were a number of projects that are going to have to either be deferred. We'll just say deferred for the time being. So I credit Mark Ells and his team for scrubbing the projects, deciding which ones had to go forward, which ones could be postponed for the time being. And so that's what our current objective is to get the budget in place. Once we get past that, we will be moving on to the strategic plan. I am looking forward to that. As you know, we have, in addition to myself, 3 other new counselors. So 4 of the 13 are new. And I think there's something to be said. I think voters spoke a little bit when they signified they wanted change. And so I think we're going to be looking to put our fingerprints on the strategic plan as we move forward.
Oh, that's great. Well, it sounds like a lot's getting done, and I know everybody has to pivot now. It's just, it's crazy, but everybody seems to be working towards the best of everything, that we can do in our village or in our town and to our neighbors. So that's a good thing. So
It is.
you used to have hold meetings here at the library. How do people find out what's going on, or your website, or how we can keep in touch?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, one of the personal downfalls for the moment is that I can't have the meetings that you were kind enough to host for me on the second Saturday of each month. So people can sign up to get the newsletter that we put out. We've put out a couple already. They can go to boganprecinct5.org. No, I'm sorry, boganprecinct5@gmail.com is that address. Sign up for the newsletter, because I will tell you, the thing that I really liked about the office hours, as well as the people who have signed up for the newsletter, is the feedback that I get. The thing that's been the most gratifying for me, people have just been wonderful since I was elected in November. Whether I'm walking my dog, Bistro, or they just see me, they will stop, they introduce themselves. People came to office hours. I had people that came with no agenda. They just said, I just wanted to meet you. And I really appreciated that. And I'd say, okay, tell me what's on your mind. How long have you lived here? What do you want to see going forward? Because at the end of the day, it's not what Dave Bogan wants. It's what Dave Bogan thinks his constituents want. I'm here to be the voice of the people. And so that's the thing that is most saddening for me, not having the office hours, is I can't have those conversations. So I invite people to sign up for the newsletter and then give me feedback so that I know what's important to folks, so that can help me shape my own agenda.
Well, that's great. Well, this has been wonderful talking with you today, and we'll have to do it on a more regular basis until we can finally do it in person again, which will be a great day for all of us.
You got that right. I appreciate that. And like I said, in the meantime, folks should sign up for the newsletter. Go to Ostrava Helps if you need help. And please visit our stores, because the ones that are open, they could certainly use the business.
That's great. Thank you so much for taking the time, David.
Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate your doing so.